Howdy, howdy, Sue Devil here, and welcome to a game analysis of a game I just cast, which is Amove Hacker versus Energized, the Dwarfs versus the Lizardmen. And when I cast that game, I noticed something really odd. Like I was going over the abilities, and I saw the Runesmith, and his Rune of Wrath and Rune only had a 150-meter range. And the same with the Rune Lord. His had only had 150-meter range, and it's 36 seconds, not 38 seconds. So I'm like, man, that was really weird. Like, am I missing something in the forums? Did the Runesmith and the Rune Lord get a nerf bat to their range? Like, oh my god! Like, I'm still. Is this a nerf? Is this a buff? I'm really still not sure. And the jury's still out, and then lots of people have to play the game, so people are passionate both ways. And so I cast this game, and I'm like, the way that Amove uses the runes in this game, I didn't understand what he was doing, because he uses them very, very shortly here, and we're going to go over them. And I just thought he was totally next level the way he uses them. When I watch games, I often watch games that are by players who are so much better than me that I can't even understand what they're doing sometimes. I'm sure it's when you play a sport or you're good at something, it's often that people don't understand you and what you're doing because they can't see where you are. And that's often the case when I'm watching games. So I just I know Amove Hacker is amazing. I've watched him play a lot. I've casted a lot of games. He is incredible. And I've seen him in so many intense games. And, he plays not just the Dowie, but a lot of other things. So I thought, I'm trying to make sense of how he uses the runes in this. And I'm like, he's going to use it on these Cohort of Sotek and these Saurus Warriors to slow it. And it just doesn't do any damage anymore. I thought he's going to slow them down. So these Croxagores have to get to the line first. So I thought that's his tactic. I thought, man, that is really a lot of foresight. Like, this guy is playing on a level that's even beyond where I can see. And he uses it in a number of ways. Like, it looks like he uses it right before his unit's route to slow things down. Well, it turns out this is an old replay. It was Amove sent it to me after the patch, but he actually played this game. He played 3 games with Energized before the patch, and this is actually a borked replay. Now, borked replays are usually very easy to spot because you see weird things like units will just go and like a unit will stand over here, and it'll have like a bunch of models left, and it'll just stand there and do nothing for the rest of the game, and it looks really weird. And by the end of the game, there's like a unit here, like 3 units here, all sort of standing and watching, and it becomes unwatchable. Well, in this game, the units do that, but it's not as bad as it normally is, so it was hard to spot. And even though the game actually stops at the end, it looks like Energize still has lots of health on all his units and time to play, because I'm not sure how replays are stored and how the way that things are calculated, but it doesn't quite, the way that it works, it borks him up and gacks him up. So I went over and looked at this replay again, and this is only for the hardcore. This is only for people. This is only for the Dowie. This is only for people who like seeing really strange things in action and like seeing sort of getting an idea of stuff. And I know I personally will point this game out to Umaze so he can look, and I might even look at some of my old replays and see the difference. Now, the contention amongst a lot of dwarfs is that the Rune of Wrath and Rune change, taking the damage portion out and adding to a massive, like a complete reduction of charge bonus or charge speed, which was never there before, and a 50% increase in the effect on normal speed. It has a big impact on single entity models like chariots. It gives dwarfs a good tool against that, but at the same time, you lose all that damage, and that really means something. And to those of us that use it, like I use it to route units all the time or to get early damage, and I'll use the double rune to slow something down to try and kill it. But a lot of people like me and Umaze, I know, talked about this in the forums, and we're like, both of us think it might be a net nerf to the Dowie. It's a nerf and a buff. It's the hardest thing to understand, but I know in my builds, which I've gone over, and they'll be posted up now, you can see I'm not having runesmiths as much as I had before. And really, I am using them a lot more just in those matchups with the single entity models, and specifically chariots. Things that I really got to worry to just bolster my line, and that's my tool. So what you're going to see in this is the units, after this fight ends, a lot of the Lizardmen units have a ton of health left. And you'll get to see that clearly. And like Amove Hacker sent this, and he said this was really close, a very, very close battle at the end, and it was really hardcore defense. Clearly, the Lizardmen actually would have won if the Rune of Wrath and Rune did no damage. And in the replay, it does no damage. But the units act and go to the places like they sort of would have. So you'll get to see this. So in comes the first Rune of Wrath and Rune is going to go on this cohort of Sotek. Okay. Or sorry, it's going to go on the Saurus Warriors with shields, and then it's going to go on the cohort of Sotek. Okay, now, it actually does slow them down to 13 speed by the 72% speed in the replay, so things are going to look weird. They're not going to quite look right, but when I was watching this, I'm like, these guys are actually, in reality, they would be over here, and these guys would be over here. But the Croxagors are going to get to this front line much, much earlier. And they're going to get there all by themselves, so I'm like, wow, Amove Hacker is amazing. Like, I've never seen a tactic like this before. This is really ridiculous. And then he's going to take everything. He's going to shoot these guys. Meanwhile, these guys are losing health, and so are these Saurus Warriors. But they look in the replay like they're coming with health. And they even, like, you can see nothing has been shooting them, but they've somehow lost a little bit of health. Something's really weird about this. Anyways, they're going to get into the line, and there are some funny things sort of going on, and we're going to watch. So Rune of Wrath and Rune has gone on these Saurus Warriors. Rune of Wrath and Rune, or Master Rune of Wrath and Rune, has gone on Saurus Warriors. Rune of Wrath and Rune has gone on cohort Sotek. And then the next one we're going to see is going to be over on these Cav. So I'm just going to fast forward it a little bit. What are these guys? Oh, this is a Midnight Curse of the Midnight Wind. So the next Rune of Wrath and Rune is going to be, and I don't know, maybe it's jittery too because of that. But the next Rune of Wrath and Rune is going to hit these Cold One Riders. And again, this is actually doing damage when it hits them. So boom, the Rune of Wrath and Rune actually hits them. Now in the replay, it shows them as slowing. And they're taking a whole bunch of, they've got damage there. I don't know exactly what's going on. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Now maybe the replay knows they got some damage, but things aren't quite working out the way they should. And then the Dragonback Slayers are getting there, but nothing is in quite the right position. So the next rune is actually going to go over here on these guys because the line is breaking. And I know I do this all the time. I used to do something like this. I'd see, there goes the rune. I know they're losing. I want to try and rout these Saurus Warriors. So these guys have been damaged. These guys have been damaged. These guys have been damaged. And these Cold One Riders have been damaged. In come the Croxagors, and what's going to happen is we've got this Master Rune of Wrath and Rune. We've had 2 Runes of Wrath and Rune. We'll have another Rune of Wrath and Rune over here on one of these guys before not too long. I don't know if there's a Wrath and Rune that goes on here. Master Rune is still going. And I'm just kind of watching. But here, you can see these red-crested skinks, I think they don't exist anymore. But they're still shown here. And see these guys just, you know, like they're actually not precisely in existence anymore. And these cohort of Sotek, and these guys are going to get another rune on them. And these guys have had the Master Rune, but it looks like there's something weird going on here with the fight and the health. So I'll try and find. I think there's another one that goes on here somewhere along the line. But these guys are sort of still in here, but they're not precisely going to do anything. You're going to see, like, here comes another Rune of Wrath and Rune. And so the runes have gone off, 2 on this guy, 1 on this guy, 1 on this guy. So we've had 2... Oh, excuse me. 2 Master Runes of Wrath and Runes and 3 Runes of Wrath and Rune now for really supporting this front line. Now, where's the weird behavior, which I didn't see before, is these guys are actually gone. In the actual game, they're not there. But in this game, because of the way everything goes, like, this health is gone. essentially. They're routed, but in this game, they're just going to stand here for the rest of the game. They're going to kind of do some weird little movements, like they might come this way and this way and this way, but they're not actually doing anything. And you know, when I watch the game, I'm like, well, you know, even great players like Energized have lapses in micro. I'm like, I'm not really going to say anything because these guys are just sort of doing their thing. And I thought, well, but really, what's actually happened in the game is these guys are routed and they're gone. These guys are going to route and be gone. These guys are going to route and be gone, but because the damage isn't working quite right in the replay, you're going to show them as here, and here, and here, and those knights show them over there. So I'm just going to let it play. Then you see these guys are just sort of just here. Now, if the Rune of Wrath and Rune had no damage, they would be in here. Like instead, they're imagining they're somewhere else or something weird going on. Maybe they've shattered, and that's why they're like this. They would be in here killing the Thunders, killing the Iron Drakes. Same with everything else. And you're going to see, we got another Master Rune of Wrath and Rune. Where is these skinks? Right here. So these guys are going to, like there's something weird going on. So these guys are going to go and get out. So these guys now have just moved out, even though they were standing right there where the fight is. And these guys are going out in sort of a weird way, and they're going to circle back, and there's going to be a Master Rune of Wrath and Rune here. I'm looking for where that other rune, but these guys, again, you can see, it's showing that there's 9 models here, and it's showing that there's 38 models here. But you can see they're just standing there. It's because they're dead or gone, and they're just, the replay is sort of borked up, and these guys are here, and where is that Cav? These guys are going to come around. I think they're going to get a Wrath and Rune on them, but we'll watch. They're getting some shots into them, and we've got one more Master Rune of Wrath and Rune to go, and I think it's actually going to be set on these red-crested skinks. And you see these Longbeards are sort of coming in from the side here. Here's that Master Rune of Wrath and Rune, the last one. You know, I don't know, I'm watching to see, but there's no damage coming off of them. You can see, but they are slowed in the replay, but in the actual game there was damage coming off them. These guys are going to come over and engage, and these guys are still doing their weird little jinx. These guys are still sitting here. These guys are sitting here, and these guys, I don't know if they're going to run around, if they're going to sit there. But the point is, in the actual game, these guys end up all being gone. But because the replay is borked, we can see that without the damage part of the Runes of Wrath and Runes, how many units would have still been there? Like these there would have been 7 Cold One Riders. Oh well, I mean that's not such a big thing. There would have been 9 cohorts of Stotek. There would have been, but there would have been 34 Saurus Warriors with shields, 39 Saurus Warriors with shields, and 75 red-crested skinks. Now these guys are, you're going to see they're going to make it all the way up, and they're going to go out, so they do get some damage in here. But if these guys were sitting here, I mean, they come and they completely plow through these Thunders. Those Thunders would be gone. Same with the rest of the Giant Slayers. I mean, Saurus Warriors with shields are exactly what you want on Giant Slayers and Thunders and stuff like that. There is no doubt in my mind that if the Master Runes are Wrath and Rune, and you are used in this game, are brought in this game and used in the same way, that it's a loss. So there's the last Rune of Wrath and Rune on these Saurus Warriors with shields, and there's something weird going on with damage, but they're going this way. And that is the last one. You're going to see these guys, this lizard, where is it? It's sort of wandering around back and forth. But you can see a lot of these units, they have weird things going on because they look like they have a lot more health than they actually do. And there are some units that have routed, and that's sort of the weird thing that ends up happening with broken replays. To me, I just thought, man, this is a really intense fight. I look and it says there's a green arrow that they think they're fighting, and I don't know what's going on with these guys. Well, maybe it's just a little lapse in micro, but it wasn't. It was a replay that was broken, and these guys, you can see, they're going to sort of come in all the way. These guys are routing, but all the runes now have been used, and all the units that had the runes used on them are still or are otherwise still here. So these Cold One Riders are just sitting over here. These guys are actually, I don't know if they're coming back. So these guys are coming back. These guys are borked. These guys are borked. But these guys are not there. These Cold One Riders, both units are not there. because the runes in Wrath and Ruined would have allowed them to do something else. Cohort of Sotek, not there. Source Warriors with Shields, not there. These Source Warriors with Shields, not there. Where's the other ones? There was another group of Source Warriors with Shields, not there. Anyways, so yeah, these Source Warriors with Shields, not there. All of this, without the damage portion of the Runes of Wrath and Ruin, would just not have made it. So it's really fascinating. Now, of course, if someone is playing like Amove Hacker, again, an amazing player, he would not use them exactly that same way. Like, he would have used them differently. But see, that's the end of the fight. And you can see, when you look around here, I mean, he's, like Energized didn't quit. This game, the Elysian lost, but because the replay's borked up, it looks like there's a whole bunch of health left on these guys, which actually isn't there, because the units that got damaged and sent off the field didn't show up quite correctly. And you look at the end replay, and usually how I find broken replays is you get to the end and all these are zeros. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. And the very first time I saw a broken replay, I'm like, man, that's really strange what these guys are doing, and like, it doesn't match the description at all. So usually you look back here and you're like, these are all zeros and something weird's going on. But I think this is just interesting. I think this is interesting. I don't think this proves anything one way or the other, because it's an old replay in the last patch, except to show that clearly, if I guess you have to focus fire a little bit. Everyone knows you got to focus fire a little bit more, but bringing a Runesmith and a Rune Lord against these guys, I don't know. Probably not a good idea. It's I could see bringing just a Runesmith or maybe just a Rune Lord for some, kind of trying to isolate some units here and there and whatnot. But I don't know that a Runesmith or a Rune Lord are the best picks against the Elysian. I think a Rune Lord, I think a Runesmith might still be, in case there's like a Mazdamundi on Slack and you want to try and pin him down and kill him. Maybe. Maybe you'd bring them together so that you can pretty much perpetually lock down Mazdamundi on Slack, something like that. I'm not really sure. It may be still the best combination for the Dowie, but when I went and redid, I really, the Rune Lord isn't as appealing. Now, that doesn't mean he's worse. It's just not as appealing to me anymore from my experience with the Dowie not having that automatic damage. And it really does, to be perfectly honest, it makes units that have physical resist more viable for the Dowie too. Not that that's really a big killer like Karen Wraiths and Sirens and stuff like that. You just don't have to worry as much against the Dowie. Not that people brought them anyways, because they're not that great. But you can absolutely bring them against the Dowie now, because there's no Runes of Wrath and Ruin. It'll be just like Game 1, because people used to bring Karen Wraiths all the time. And they put them in their blobs. They put Karen Wraiths in the blobs with the Crypt Horrors and the Crypt Horrors and their armor-piercing infantry. I can't remember the name of them right now. For some reason, it just escaped me. But anyways, really, really fascinating to see this. I don't know precisely what it says, and for those of you who like watching this stuff, I know, probably most of the people looked at it like, what? You want to look at a video that's a replay that's broken? Why do you want to do that? And they just kind of clicked on and clicked off. For those of you that want to see this, I mean, what do you think? And, am I crazy when I look at that? And when I see the health that everything had left without the Runes of Wrath and Ruin, am I crazy to say that the Elysian win that going away with no Rune and Wrath and Ruin? I don't know. Now, to be fair, Amove Hacker has played Energized many times, and he's beat Amove Hacker with a base Lord, no Runes of Wrath and Ruin before the change. That was really the Lord package that he liked to bring, is just the Naked Lord, and I'm sure he'll be playing the Naked Lord even more now that he's 100 gold cheaper. But I just think it's quite interesting. And I listened to my cast of it, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I mean, I don't know how Amove Hacker is doing this because how is he anticipating this stuff? This is absolutely unbelievable. My mind was blown, but here I'm watching a broken replay trying to figure out what this guy's doing. Like I'm like, oh my god, like I must be so dumb that I can't even understand where he's at. So I thought it was like, oh man, oh man. Anyways, I would love to hear from you guys in the comments, and I will post this essentially back to back with the other game so that you can see them both one after the other. And I mean, I think I'll probably post them a half hour apart or something like that, so that you can see the game and sort of have your own thoughts about it, and then go back and watch it again through this, and sort of have a chance to do some analysis. So love to hear from you in the comments section what you think this is. Does it mean anything? Is it like, yeah, or it's just a broken replay? What does that mean? Or is it kind of neat? Or, you know, what are your thoughts? And I really do want to hear from the Dwarf players, the Dwarf mains out there. I'm sure all of you guys are having a chance to play without the old Runerath and Rune and the new one. What are you seeing in your games? You know, are you more confident against chaos because you can pin things down more easy? You know, do you feel like you feel more free to pick other lords because you don't need to bring the Rune Lord in every single matchup? You know, I would love to hear your comments on that down below, to what your experience has been since the patch. With that said, hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you soon.